It's like everybody's down here. You're like, well, that's you. Exactly.
I hope you got everything verbatim.
So we'll chew.
Okay,
so it is
Absolutely.
And
Well, and I think we'll put a few Easter eggs in there, so
With
someone
in
reads and they
hand,
see something like, oh, a bunch of shovels were
Exactly.
stolen, like, we're
It's just
encouraged
getting
to
it
put
in
our
hand.
shovels away. Like, I
Good
just,
job, Barb.
yeah, right? So I throw some comments that were made but are not relevant.
I was looking everywhere else.
Yes.
In general, but I was talking.
Prior to the past 12 months, I think since then. It's enough for the low side of the like.
I think so. Were you guys wanting to go to a meeting? Okay.
In the past, we
I'd say
had
this is.
someone who was.
So there's meeting, I believe at 4 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But
Enjoy it while you can, but all we needed was 10 people to show up.
I think she
Quorum,
would,
so
yeah.
I,
happy. Yeah,
so
she
yes,
is,
we have to have 10 people here
got
besides.
a million ideas, but she's somebody who gets stuff done, so.
You know, work for the next month. And, we've never run into an issue with that, but it's always on days like that, you're like, okay, we need to make sure.
Oh,
people know
perfect,
that.
yeah.
I just,
And she lives in the neighborhood too, which I think that gives her that extra. She lives above Overlook, I think? Above Overlook?
I just.
Yeah.
No, it's okay, it's okay,
You were wrong.
She told me she toured the new place, and she literally said to them,
Josh has
this
two
is
L's
not
and
worth the
two
price
L's.
you're
Will.
charging. Like, there's no
I
pool, there's no fitness center.
overwhelmed, but
There's-
I
the
better
parking
make
is
it
terrible.
correct.
She was like,
It's all good. Missing a letter or two is fine.
yeah, she was like, yeah, they look
I always
nice,
have to
but
fight for the.
there's no amenities here. It's not like you have a garage to park in, like, you know, it's just- we'll be very curious.
I mean, I need one to keep us on track. So I don't-
Oh, keep it.
I have good
No,
eyesight.
no, no, you move it over there.
Just here.
I have the operations here.
There we go.
Not anymore. Or if they do, it's like very, very few.
yeah, it was very good. If they were there, I haven't been to see.
No, because
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to see if there were.
I didn't get
I've
it.
seen
I
it.
didn't bring it up. So I intentionally spent so much time.
But, and then some people we park
Yeah, we're gonna-
across the street in the church, which, that's kind of a long way to your. You were carrying groceries. Yeah.
Across the street.
I wouldn't, especially a scary street to cross.
Heading there, where there's not a crosswalk.
Well, no, where,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
thought it was
called
like a
Catty Corner. He like kept walking down the street.
And, yeah.
It is like a yellow brick. Next to a blue farmhouse that used to have two gigantic trees.
Because I'm so
It was glued down. Yeah, like you hit my house and you hit the blue if you were walking from it. Yeah, the first one that faces Woodford off of that corner. What about you?
I live on Gloss, so it's between,
I do love those signs. And they cute little dots on them.
so coming down here, you've got Park.
I don't think they did much, but
Bellwood.
I don't know, we're having a lot of issues now, most of the signs are
That's
gone.
kind of what nobody knows.
Yeah, the issues are
And then
having
Gloss, and then.
signs mostly
There's
where.
a store.
Or by people who pay attention to signs, because if you're high, you're not paying attention to your ducks.
Very
I
true.
certainly never figured it out when I found the house.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Still very
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a,
Headlines up.
Bellwood
This
is
range is weird.
nicest in the sense that it doesn't have any wires, so it has lamps, and so that's a really, and a very nice flat street to walk on, and so that's a nice walk.
I thought we were gonna move it down the street to different people's yards.
Grand Vista, the back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to call this meeting to order. Per usual, we're going to start this meeting with the pledge of allegiance. Can you stand with it? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. We are going to jump straight into our department guests from the police department. This evening, thank you for coming tonight, Mr. Sellers.
Good evening.
Sorry. You good?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sergeant Sellers. I'm filling in for your neighborhood officer, Officer Martin. She has training this entire week, so I came to fill in for her. When you're looking at your crime stats, for part one violent crimes, you have one robbery, and that was known parties. I'm also here to talk about that street. Lisbon, I don't know if anybody is here from that street, but there's been some problems on that street. There's a mental health consumer client that's been kind of causing a lot of problems on the street. So that robbery was associated, but it was somebody that they knew each other. Part one, property crimes. You guys had a bit of a spike with your B&Es, burglary B&Es, and then you had one theft from auto, which is down, and an auto theft, 4, and then personal other thefts, 4. So I just encourage everybody to make sure that it's getting warm outside and people are leaving their windows open and their garage door open. Do not leave your car keys in your car, your key fob in your car. If you have a Hyundai or a Kia, please get the updates on it. And just make sure that you're being self-aware just because of how warm it's getting. So there's more people out, so more people looking to see who's leaving with windows cracked open or things of that nature. So just make sure you're locking your doors and your windows. In Lisbon, if you live on Lisbon, that person has a warrant on them. That mental health consumer has a warrant on them. So if you guys get any calls from anybody, because we're getting several calls, I don't know if they'll reach out to you all, but that person has a warrant on them. So if they call the police, they'll get arrested. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, we had a number of incidents regarding automobiles this past month, car chases, et cetera, et cetera. On the evening of March 11th, 2025, there was an interesting crash up at Lester and Montgomery Road. Minivan ran through the chain link fence and back of the construction zone and ended up on a pile of building debris. A Cincinnati police officer did respond to the incident, but I can't find the auto accident report out online. It's possible
It may be in your auto. It happened when?
on the 11th. I think it was Tuesday evening, about 9:30, 9 o'clock.
It might be in your auto accident report, but I can go look it up.
Okay.
March 11th.
Yes,
In the evening time, you said?
yes, 9:50.
Okay.
And, we have a group, Pleasant Streets. If there's no accident report out there regarding this, I don't know how they would learn about it. I don't know if there's more to the story.
There could be more to the story. I'll have Officer Barnes look it up and then we can share it with you all
Okay.
to see what happened.
Sunday afternoon, about 5:15, there was a major car chase around the neighborhoods about Deer Park, Silverton, Cincinnati. There were a number of Cincinnati police units involved in the chase, District 3 units. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I heard about it. It started in an outside jurisdiction and it winded up in our area. So I don't know the particulars about why. I know the car was refusing to stop. And so it wound up in our jurisdiction. So that's kind of how it was on the news too, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, and then we also had the driver that went on a rampage all the way from Orchard Lane down Montgomery Road, destroying property, running through people's yards and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any more information on that?
I don't know if the person was arrested or not, But again, I can have Officer Martin get back with you all on the particulars. We usually don't bring like all the particulars about an incident unless you ask for it. And if you want it, we'll have her, you all with it.
Somebody's got a question.
I just wanted to let you know, I requested CPD traffic reports for both of those. I just haven't gotten those particular ones yet, so.
Okay.
To clarify so everybody can hear, because people are watching online, and unless we talk in the mics, they can't hear everything. So the question is about multiple incidents, mostly traffic violations and incidents that have happened. We are compiling as Pleasant Streets Committee and as an executive board, we're compiling the information for all of these for specific requests from the city in terms of not just police activity, but also for traffic calming and pedestrian safety measures in addition for that. Did you have further questions?
Yes. What is Cincinnati Police Department's policy regarding deer strikes? I was out on, deer was struck on Plainfield Road. It was still alive. If you encountered that in the city, would you put the deer down?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then, has anybody from the police department done anything to try to help the homeless man who's living at the bus stop in Kennedy Heights? He's been there quite a long time.
So the problem with him, yes, we've been there multiple times. But if you have people feeding him and allowing him to sleep on your property, and then he comes out in the morning and sits at the bus stop is Metro's property. It's not the city property. But we have invited our homeless team to come out and speak to him several times. I've been out there to move him along, and the people that own the bus stop have to be in agreement with making him move. And the only thing we can do is if he's on the sidewalk and he's blocking the sidewalk with all of his items, we can make him move the items. But apparently people are helping him between the store and I believe the church. So if he's being helped and he feels like he's getting the help right there, I mean, the only thing we can do is if someone calls that day and say he's doing something, and he can be very not friendly. We attempted several times to try to get him assistance, but he doesn't want it. However, again, if he's doing something, we come out and we'll respond out. We're coming every day to check on him because he was out there in the winter. He was behind the church in the winter, and then he moved from the church when they agreed with us that he can't, because it was trash and everything. So they said, okay, he has to leave. So then he came back. He would leave like some part of the day, and then at night would come back and just sleep there at night. But it's because he's getting the help right there. And it's just hard for us to make people leave if other people are helping them and they feel like they don't need to leave.
One other thing, the police chase that we had early this morning that ended up at the firehouse, the last thing I read online was no charges had been filed at that point. Do you know if any charges have been filed?
I believe someone said, and I haven't checked it, but I believe someone said it could be a medical issue. So whenever if someone's not immediately arrested, that means the police is investigating to determine whether or not it could have been a medical situation. So they're not going to cite you, or they're not going to give you a ticket if there was a medical emergency.
Great.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Sellers.
Okay.
All right, Kendall for Pleasant Ridge Recreation Center.
There you go. We love the rec. We love the rec.
How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Good. So my name is Kendall Bubba. I'm one of the community center sheriff. And so first things first, our summer day camp is currently full, but we are looking for workers. So if anyone wants to work here at Pleasant Ridge, please let me know. So we have our Heart Health Day that is May 15th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So so heart health presentation from American Heart Association staff will be present as far as that. Learn how to manage your blood pressure and get connected to a PCP. Practice your CPR and AED skills. You receive a CPR kit. It's only gonna be 75 of them, so you may wanna get here a little early. Let's see, connect with services and resources. Celebrate your heart, health, and your community. And last thing, we have our Family Fun Boot Camp. That would be May 1st from 5:30 to 6. Come have fun, get fit with us. All kids are welcome. Kids are welcome as well. 30 minutes of high intensity workouts. That's it. All right, any questions? All right, thank you.
And we will have all the dates out with our calendar. Clearly, the fire department is not here. We do have Pleasant Ridge Branch Library represented. Thank you, Jennifer.
Hello, I just wanted to share about a few programs we have coming up that are also calendars available. This Saturday, we're having a paint cafe for adults. It's sort of like a paint sip, only we're not serving alcohol, we're serving coffee. There's only 3 spots left. It's at 10:15 in the morning, but if you want to be creative and just have a nice relaxing morning on what's going to be a rainy morning, come on down. The paint theme is actually a rainy scene, it's appropriate. On Saturday, April 12th at 2:30, we're going to have our nature neighborhood at Kennedy Heights Park. The focus is spring forest, so join us for a nice walk around the forest and learn. We're going to be identifying stuff and learning how you can identify nature in your own yard. On April 16th at 6 p.m., we're having an outside presenter do a protect yourself from falling victim to scams. So if you or anybody in your life might benefit from that, please come. It's open to anybody, no registration is needed. On Saturday, April 19th, we're having a family program at 11 in the morning. It's Protect Your Peeps. So we're doing family challenges on how to, you're going to build boats for your peeps. I think we might be microwaving peeps. If you haven't microwave peeps, you should look for YouTube videos on what this looks like. It's going to be just some silly fun. And then on May 1st at 3 o'clock, we're doing an easy crafts for adults. We're repurposing like soup cans and making little lanterns out of them. And cute. They are easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Just not good at crafts. And then just because we've received some questions at the library, if you're aware, the Institute of Museum and Library Services funding at the federal level has been completely gutted. We do not receive any IMLS funding. All of our funding comes from either the local tax levies or the state. We have received IMLS funding in the past through grants, but we currently don't have anything. So I think there was some concern. It's not going to affect our library system. It will affect rural and tribal libraries. But to that point, if you love your library, if you think libraries have value to communities, just tell a friend, tell a neighbor. If you know a lawmaker, just promote your library. So that's it. Thanks.
Hey, thank you so much. We do love the library. I was there today. All right, I know that I jumped straight in without introducing or saying hello to everybody, but that was out of respect for the providers with the CRC and the police department and Jennifer with the library. I'm Jeff. I was formerly the vice president of the community council, and as of last month, I was voted in as president. This is our new vice president, Josh Wilman. We're going to jump straight into our executive committee reports. You guys have been here. You can introduce yourselves. So I'm going to jump straight into my report, and I apologize that I have a lot. One of my goals as president that I expressed with our executive committee and their committee chairs was that I would like us to make our meetings a bit more succinct so that we're not here over an hour and a half. I know that we're allotted an hour and a half time. If we can get out an hour and 15, guess what? We can ask each other questions and connect with one another and all those great things that make a community a community. But we do have business to do. I am pleased to report we've been discussing our desire to start a youth committee. And I met on Sunday with resident Amy Moore. I believe I saw her. Yeah, she's back. And 4 teenagers, including her daughter, who are going to be the beginning of a brand new Pleasant Ridge Youth Committee. To our knowledge, this is going to be the first youth council or youth committee in the 52 communities in Cincinnati, which is pretty awesome. That's what we're celebrating. The committee is going to be youth-led and youth-driven, and they're setting their own first meeting time for this month, and they're going to be providing notes or a report to the executive board. We would like to find a liaison for this committee that works as a middle person between PRCC, so this executive board and that youth committee. Currently, Amy has said that she will serve in that position, but with her daughter on the council, and if anybody else has ever had a teenage child, you know that they don't want their parents involved in everything. So we would like to alleviate Amy from that position. If you are passionate about youth and connecting youth to purpose, this is a great way. One of the things that we provide the youth is that they can get credits, and or whether it's extra credit or extracurricular credit for college applications by being a part of this, but they also get a voice in our community and the direction that we're taking Pleasant Ridge. And then our ask from them is input, more than anything, is input and a little bit of organization among themselves. So if you're interested in all of that, you can email me. My email is on the agenda, president_PRCC@pleasantridge.org. Beautification Committee, we've also been looking for a chair for that committee for a very long time, and I'm pleased to introduce you to Michael Cummings, my neighbor. He's been involved already in beautification with plantings and serving in that way. I will let you know that former committee leads and members are still involved very much in serving, as evidenced by the fact that we have fresh flowers in all those pots as of this past weekend. But we are looking to expand the scope of what beautification is in Pleasant Ridge. It's more than just flowers and pots. Our idea is that we could even get to the point where we're consulting with businesses about business fronts. It includes litter cleanup, and even probably in the curb appeal of homes. These are services that we can essentially provide each other through volunteerism that we would like to do. So if you're interested in any of those things, you might not be interested in putting your hand in some dirt in a flower pot, but you might be really interested in the way a storefront looks. You can reach out to us. The email is, I don't believe, readily.
It's on your
Thank
agenda.
goodness. It is beautification.prcc@gmail.com. We do have pots that need owners, and we'll send this out in an email, but since you're in the room, you get to hear about it. We have pots where Douglas Terrace and Montgomery meet. There's 4 pots there that need an owner. Essentially what you do is you organize the people that are watering the pots. So you become the person that organizes the watering of those pots. Woodmont in Montgomery, which is right in front of 18 Tattoo across from Sunoco and Walgreens. Silverleaf in Montgomery, and then there's one right outside of the Majestic apartment. So there's 4 locations that we're looking for owners, pot owners. All right. Next, Invest in Neighborhoods. So Invest in Neighborhoods is an organization within the city of Cincinnati. Their whole point is to invest in these councils, the 52 different neighborhoods in Cincinnati, to give us voice, give us resources. They had their annual summit this past weekend, and Barb and Josh and myself all represented Pleasant Ridge, and we're able to get some key takeaways. Mostly the biggest thing for us was the connections that we got, and then we got some inspiration from some ideas from other communities and some initiatives that a lot of other communities are doing. And then they brought in people from UC and other organizations that actually discussed different ways to engage the community and whatnot. So we're going to take our findings there and hopefully apply a lot of things to engaging more of our residents. One of the things that we all agreed on is that community councils can quickly become homeowners associations, and what we want to do is be able to give people who have less of a voice in the community more of a voice, to bring them to the top, bring them to the table to have a conversation that includes the youth, as we discussed, and we would like the renters that live here, even if they're here for a year, to have a voice in what our community looks like. So that was one of the key takeaways there. And I highly encourage anyone who's interested in the work of Pleasant Ridge Community Council, whether it's just a single committee or everything we do, to attend next year. It's actually an open to the public event, and you can register for it yourself. They provide breakfast and lunch and a whole lot of breakouts and connection time. So that's my little pitch there. So the other thing is yesterday we received an email regarding input on the budget for fiscal year 2026 for the city. City Council is going to start working on approving that budget. They do it by May every year. So they're starting to meet around that. And Invest in Neighborhoods put out a survey in November to random residents all across the city. And they received a bunch of feedback about the priorities of the citizens of Cincinnati about what do you want us to spend money on. Well, Invest in Neighborhoods also has emailed us, asked us to complete a survey by the end of the day today, and also to send an official letter to City Council regarding our budget priorities as a community for next year. So if we got to decide what projects do we want the city to invest in Pleasant Ridge. And so they would like that as soon as possible, as they want to add it to the survey data. The survey is already complete based on what we used as our data to complete that survey are the requests we've made of the city in the last year to 18 months. Does that make sense to everybody? So in order to just expedite us getting that survey done and to get it done in time, we said, hey, what did we ask the city for? We're gonna force rank our priorities based on that. And so with the letter, we're gonna use, our plan is to use the same criteria and to point out the subgroups and the specific projects that we've already requested for Pleasant Ridge from the city, whether that's from the community budget requests, which we submitted last late summer, early fall, and other avenues that we've talked about a lot with all those different acronyms if you've been coming to those meetings. In our next meeting, we will have an acronym guide because we use a lot of them. I started the project and I forgot to bring it to this meeting. One of the other things that we want to do with our meetings is to work towards having more QR codes and less printed material so that everyone can access it themselves. We'll still have some printed material for people who are less likely to use QR codes, but we want to print less. I know I'm saying that as I have printed notes in front of me, but I'm a little old school for my age. So I wanted to give you a heads up there. Another point is traffic calming and pedestrian safety. We have accumulated a heaping pile of unfortunate incidents in our community over the last 4 to 6 weeks. We first want to ask the citizens of Pleasant Ridge to be reporting these incidents by calling the police, because that data is stored and helps the city make decisions, and also or to report on 311 Cincy. So if it's not an emergency situation, we're asking that you would put it on the 311 Cincy app, because all of that data goes to helping support our requests for changes from the city. Thank you. We are writing an official letter requesting urgent assistance on the many requests we've already made due to these many incidents. I just made a quick list. I'm not on the Pleasant Streets Committee, so I just went off the top of my head, and I believe there were 7 significant incidents in the last 4 weeks that I can think of. And I believe 5 of those 7 all occurred right around where Pleasant Ridge Montessori and the new development and Pleasant Ridge Presbyterian Preschool all reside. That's an issue. So we're going to be partnering with pressure with the city on hopefully getting some things done quicker rather than waiting. Next point for me is Pleasant Ridge Business Association and Pleasant Ridge Development Corporation. As VP, one of my primary goals was to bring these 3 organizations. One is the group of businesses together. The other is the Development Corporation. What they specifically do is help guide the way we redevelop buildings within our community. It's a nonprofit volunteer organization. We want to make these 3, as Jason from Development Corporation says, we are the 3-legged footstool or 3-legged stool of Pleasant Ridge. We want to get all of those organizations working together in a much tighter and lockstep fashion. This work will continue, but Josh is on the PRDC board, the Development Corporation board, as well as being our VP. He's going to be the liaison for that from now on. And then Michelle is potentially going to be our Business Association liaison, because she's already quite connected to their secretary. So you'll be hearing more about those 2 organizations when there is news to report from the 2 of them. Another thing that happened this month that I need to report on is Safe Route to Schools, which is an Ohio Department of Transportation initiative. The city of Cincinnati is able to apply for funds from the state for safe routes to schools. So anything that has to do with getting to school safe, whether it's pedestrian or driving, they're able to apply for that. We found out that the city they're not annually applying for funds. They've applied in the past and gotten some. They've applied in the past and not gotten some. And then there's been several years where they haven't applied at all, which is frustrating. because almost all of our requests are right outside of elementary schools in our neighborhood. Our business district, which is considered the center of our neighborhood, is surrounded by elementary schools. So anything and everything that we have asked for would fulfill the requirements of safe routes to schools. And the city has said either they don't have the budget for it or they don't have the people for it, and that the people is exactly what they're saying is the reason why they did not apply. So I submitted an would like the city to apply for these funds here going forward. And so I needed to report on that. We do rely on Department of Transportation and Engineering from the city to apply for any of those grants. We cannot apply on our own, which is important to note. With that, very related, Woodford Road, a resident in our community submitted a 311 Cincy request for a traffic study on Woodford Road near Nativity during dismissal time because the person noticed how many kids were crossing the street without a crosswalk or a stop sign, and it's also a long stretch of a road in a residential neighborhood without any crosswalks or stop signs. Department of Transportation and Engineering completed a pedestrian count between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. within days. I don't know if we've ever seen them move that fast. And from that study, they determined it was necessary to reduce the speed limit by 5 miles an hour and to add a stop sign and crosswalk on Woodford. And the main thing that they had to do with was, guess what? Schools. So that segues perfectly into the 311 Cincy app, which we will highlight every single meeting because the data matters and it actually helps. So I live on Douglas Terrace, where Douglas Terrace meets Montgomery has been a semi-permanent closure for 5 years now. There's a sign there that is very unpermanent. It gets blown down every time the wind blows in a storm. And if a resident doesn't pick it up, it has to be reported on the app. If it's continually reported on the app, we actually might have gotten some better traction because the city takes 311 Cincy requests that seriously. So much so that we did a traffic study and are going to be changing the speed limit and adding the stop sign and a crosswalk on one of our streets. So please download the app if you haven't already. You can explore it. There's tons of things that you can report. I can give you a couple of quick examples. Down signs, I noticed that there was 2 signs that are down on the ground on Woodford Avenue. Faded and unreadable signs, whether it's a no parking sign or a speed limit sign or whatever. You can't read it because it's faded. Report it. If it's being blocked by a tree, report it. They'll come and cut it. In fact, I reported one last year over by Walgreens, and the next morning at 7:30 a.m. it was already reported as done. So they do pay attention to that. So we want to recommend again and again that you use the 311 since the all over the city, but those reports matter too. All right. Whew.
Yay.
Thank you, President Jeff. I am Josh Willman, current president, vice president. Excuse me, I'm already trying to, it's a coup. Just teasing. If that wasn't allowed, feedback in private. All right, so Josh Willman, VP, and I have just a couple of updates. So as far as the areas that I plan on focusing on in this role, obviously I will help be accountable for all of the work that we are doing, but the passion areas I have are for our business districts, and then also driving connection among the 3 groups that operate within Pleasant Ridge, as Jeff mentioned. So I do sit on the board of Pleasant Ridge Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit entity. So one of the projects that the 3 entities in Pleasant Ridge is working on is a new business district development plan. And the way Cincinnati budgeting usually works is that there's certain buckets of money for planning and strategy, and then there's buckets of money for buying and moving dirt and building buildings. So we submitted a request to the city through the NCCIP program, which is the Neighborhood Catalytic Capital Investment Program. There will not be a quiz at the end of this. So that program is for pre-development funds. And so we asked the city for $75,000, and each entity of Pleasant Ridge chipped in $2,000. So ERCC put in $2,000, ERDC, ERBA. And so the city came back to us, and the request for that was to put together a comprehensive new plan for our business district. So that goes from about the library all the way down to about where the coffee exchange is, or the new Ridge or PRM. That's probably the simplest way to put it. Really competitive year, and you guys have a lot of unity. It's a very clear vision, and so we're about 90% there to getting fully funded. They're running it by the city's law department just to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and then we will partner with Yard and Co. to kick off a new development strategy. A huge piece of that, and something that we learned at the Neighborhood Summit, is that when you're doing a new community plan or business district plan, the first step of listening and engaging with your residents and your business owners and collecting data is really a key piece. So as that gets approved, they let us know they're hoping for about May timing. We'll be kicking off that work, and they have planned several different components that will involve community engagement. So super exciting. The city right now views Pleasant Ridge very favorably, and we've heard that many times from them, that they feel that we're in unity and alignment, and so it's great to have their support. So that is NCC IP. Separately, Douglas Terrace closure, as Jeff mentioned, that started about 6 or 7 years ago, and it started with incidents kind of like what we've seen over the past month. Car crashes, unfortunately, individuals being hit by vehicles, and it really posed a significant pedestrian safety issue. What we are working with the city is to make that closure permanent, and then to build a permanent structure there using TIF funds, so tax increment financing. For those that aren't aware of that, it's special funds that go from our business district, so taxes that have already been collected that the city holds on to, and you can request them to use for projects in your business district. And we're hoping to potentially use some of those funds to permanently close Douglas Terrace based on the significant issues that occurred, and then the traffic studies that were already done. So that was submitted months ago, and we're waiting for the Department of Transportation and Engineering to come back to us with a final quote on the cost. And then we will request City Council to approve that funding to permanently close the street. It shouldn't make a huge difference for most residents all around, since it's been closed for about 6 years or so, but it will hopefully look better and be safer for all of those involved. Anything to build on those points?
Just that we learned that it actually is closed. Yes, we're just getting the.
Correct. Yes, the build out.
Repeat that.
So the street closure is permanent, and what we are requesting is a permanent structure to keep it closed. Great. All right, thank you.
Good deal.
Thank you, Josh.
Well, this will give my fingers a little break, but I'm Michelle. I'm the secretary. The biggest thing you will notice is that there were not very many copies of the minutes over there, because the minutes are getting so long as we've had very packed meetings. So we have a little QR code over there put together by our communications committee. I don't know how to do that sort of thing. Yeah, so from now we're going to start putting more online, so you can come in, scan the QR code, and a folder will pop up with all the documents we are referring to, and then they are on your phone forever if you'd like them to be. So hopefully that will be helpful, and we'll keep paper out of the recycling bin, so, or trash. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Jessie Frank. I'm the PRCC treasurer, just finishing up my first term in this role. So for my executive report tonight, it really just blends right into our first special item of the night on the agenda, talking about the MSP vote for our final projects for 2025. If you were here over the past couple months, you may have not heard the term MSP, but as Jeff was saying, Invest in Neighborhoods is a group in the city that gives us resources that we can use in our communities. So one of the things they do is they offer grant opportunities, NSP, the Neighborhood Support Program grant, is the biggest one that we're able to apply for each year. This year it's for $10,000, which is the largest one since I've been involved, which is very, very exciting. So we're able to do a lot with it this year. Over the past couple months, we've talked about what kind of projects we're going to want to put up for a vote to see what the city might approve for us for that funding. We talked about it in March, opened it up for people to submit ideas, got a couple people submitting general ideas and proposals, and not always things we could support with the NSP grant because of the guidelines, or we got a couple ideas of maybe look into this street corner and put some money, which we are interested in and we are looking for those kind of ideas, but for a grant proposal, we need a project budget and details, something solid we can give to the city to get approved. So we gathered ideas, and when we were looking into the 2025 projects, we wanted to think strategically about it as a community council to keep ourselves flexible later in the year, knowing there's ideas out there and new projects might pop up, even different than what we know of right now or what we can solidly submit. So on your agenda, these numbers are broken out, but I'm going to repeat them as well for our friends on the screen over there. But for 2025, we are looking into submitting 3 project ideas. The first 2 are projects that we've submitted in the past that we've had great success on. So the first one would be beautification efforts. Again, the grant's for $10,000. We're looking to put $6,000 into beautification. So what that would cover is the spring and fall street maintenance. You're thinking sidewalk, weeding and trimming, herbicide, trimming water suckers on the trees, and the tree ring mulching for all 60 of the tree rings down Montgomery Ridge and everywhere in between there, as well as the summer flower plant potting. The spring pots that were just filled, that expense maybe could go towards this grant, but unfortunately it's outside of that time range we talked about in the past meeting where it has to fall between basically April to the end of the year. So since that one occurred outside of the range, we can't make it a part of it, but $6,000 would cover the summer portion of that as well. The second cost would be towards our Ridge Day fundraising event. We are looking to put $3,000 towards that to cover the core infrastructure items on the event. Think the tent, the stage, the chairs, the umbrellas, all those core items, the recycling and trash services, those types of things that we need to make this event successful. Ridge Day and beautification are projects we've put up in the past to NSP and have always had success getting approved, so we're confident in getting those funds this year as well. The last thing that we want to put in, this is where we're trying to think strategically for the end of the year. The NSP grant does allow us to put a limited amount of indirect project costs or administrative costs towards the grant, which is very unusual for most grants that you'll see. It's usually on project based. So what we're looking to do to fill out the last $1,000 of that $10,000 is to put it towards the annual cost for the storage unit that holds all of PRCC's assets. So think for Ridge Day, all the pop-up tents that we have, the cones, the signage, all of the miscellaneous items like wristbands and tickets. For beautification, there's downtown holiday lights that we have, and decor, and luminaria, the giant sandbags that they keep, all of the bulb candles, those types of things and other assets that we have are kept in a storage unit. So where we think this is going to be advantageous for us is we are able to get those types of administrative costs reimbursed through this grant. So later on in the year, after our Ridge Day fundraiser, after the Luminaria fundraiser, we'll have funds raised from those events that we now don't have to put through NSP guidelines. They're open and they can be used on those ideas that came in earlier in the year or new projects that we have to pop up. So we can be a little more flexible later in the year, but get those expenses covered now. So for this year, beautification, Ridge Day, and the storage unit for $10,000 total is what we are proposing to put towards the NSP grant for this year. So to do that, we do need to take a vote. This is the day when the public will vote on whether we're going to move forward with that to put a proposal to the city to potentially get funding. So step 1 is voting, yays and nays. So we will be taking a formal vote. I do have to count your hands, so please keep them up high enough for a second. Are you counting?
I'm counting.
Wonderful. All right, so the vote is for the 3 projects for $10,000, $6,000 for beautification, $3,000 for Ridge Day, and $1,000 for the storage unit. So anybody who is in favor, please raise your hand and keep it held up. You guys are allowed to vote as well. Okay. You are residents here.
Okay, 26.
Okay, cool.
I hope.
Awesome. So 26, and anybody nay, opposed, please. All Okay, that's your nays. Well, great, we have a quorum and it looks like we have majority approval, so thank you very much on that. The next steps for us is I'm gonna work with our NSP manager, Ruth Ann. The proposal is due this Friday at 4 p.m., but we're well positioned to get that in on time. Once that's in, on the 15th of this month, we'll have to go present these projects to a group of other community councils to really discuss the projects and kind of share ideas between community councils. But once it reaches that point, we are very confident in our approval chances for getting the money. And as long as everything goes well on the 15th, we'll walk out with a check in hand. So very exciting, $10,000 coming in. So we'll keep you updated on when that money is spent, how it's spent throughout the year, and if we are successful, but we are very confident that we will be. So next meeting, good news hopefully coming.
Awesome, thank you, Jesse, and thank you for everybody for voting. All right, our next special item are kind of, I'll announce them both, and then we will address them separately. This is gonna be my first time ever hosting nominations or volunteers for nominations for positions. So next month we will be voting for the installment of a new term. So the way our executive board here works is the vice president and president sit on the same terms. So we are going to be completing this term, which ends of May next year. So it's a 2-year term, and then it's overlapping. So the secretary and treasurer's terms are coming to an end. So we, as a public entity, will be opening to the public nominations or volunteers for both the secretary and the treasurer position, which would start this coming May, and then move through 2 years. Understood? So with that, do we have any nominations or volunteers in the room for the secretary position?
Raise your hand, Michelle.
Yeah,
Nominate yourself.
I have to give it to them. I
Oh,
knew
okay.
I was going to say, so that means Michelle is the only nominee, to which we will take a vote next month. We also need to open up nominations / volunteers for the treasurer position outside of Jessie, who has also said that she'd be willing to put her hand up to serve
Join
again. Do we
I'm
have
willing.
any other volunteers or nominations?
Join us.
You're encouraging someone to take your
I'll
position.
still, yeah, wait for it. I'm not going anywhere, but
I told
welcome
Jessie she's
everybody.
not allowed to go anywhere. All right, so we will be voting next month officially. I believe, I have to double check the bylaws, but I believe that the nominations are now closed. So then next month we will be doing a public approval of those nominations by the executive board. All right, so we can move along. Before we jump straight into this, I'm going to do something now so I don't forget it later. And I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last month's community council meeting.
Yeah, we've forgotten several times, I was noticing.
I'll put forward a motion to approve the council meeting.
Can you give us your full name so we can put the minutes?
Carl Beckman,
Carl.
CARLBOECKMAN.
Thank you. Do we have a second? We have a point. Thank you so much. And we can move along. We're going to move from here to our committee reports, beginning with Safety and Block Watch, who is not here, so we'll move right along. Pleasant Streets.
Yes, well, she was. I saw her.
She just gave you permission to speak on her behalf.
I feel like you covered all the, I'm not sure if there's anything more to say.
You covered the main things.
Okay, do we have any questions for the Pleasant Streets Committee? Great. So next we have beautification with Michael Cummings. You can at least stand up and say hi to everybody so you can see your face.
Yeah, hi everybody, I'm Mike, Taylor of Beautification. I am just getting into the role like they mentioned before, but I'm looking forward to doing it. I'm gonna actually just last night created my first ever Facebook profile, so I'm gonna be able to solicit some input for it that way. And I'm hoping to get more feedback, get people involved, and again, looking forward to doing it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing it. Mike.
Thank you for stepping up, Mike. Okay, so the next is our parks.
I'll come.
Thank you, Eric.
I have that. I'll be quick.
If you just tilt the mic up and then just, if you project, it'll bring up the
Okay. So since we already talked about all the flower pots, we're gonna talk about some blooming stuff with our parks committee. So, everybody's been noticing all these pretty little yellow flowers in their lawn, and these white trees out here. Terrible plants, by the way. So we're gonna work on trying to get rid of all this stuff. But there's some really good stuff blooming out there right now too. So I just got back into town and I was very like a punch to the gut when I got back to town and I saw all this terrible stuff. Plants that I didn't see at all on vacation. So I took a walk to Kennedy Heights Park yesterday to like get re-excited about the nature in our neighborhood. Little plug there. And there's a lot of really good stuff that if you come to the program on Saturday, or if you go to the Friends of French Park event also on Saturday, or no, Friends of French Park is this Saturday, library program is next Saturday, or our Community Nature Advocates program at the end of this month, you will see a lot of these things. So we've got blooming right now that's really good is redbud, which Jeff just planted in his yard, which is great. And we just gave a lot of them away at the library. We ran out like immediately. Spice bush is blooming, little yellow flowers. There's a lot of those at Kennedy Heights Park. Pawpaws are blooming. You can go see a blue pawpaw within 5 minutes of here. You can see thousands of pawpaws blooming within like 100 or within a mile of here. Yep. And yes, it's the most common understory tree in Cincinnati. Pawpaws. Now you know. All right. So, and then we have a lot of spring wildflowers that are blooming. We got bluebells. We got Kelly Two-Fort. We got bloodroot. And we got spring beauties that are all over the place right now. So get out and see some of those. Some of our bigger trees are blooming or have bloomed. I won't go into those. If you see weird looking leaves popping out of something, it's the buckeye state tree, right? So keep an eye out for that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about No Mow May. It's April 1st, right? So No Mow May, where did No Mow May originate? In the United Kingdom. Where's the United Kingdom? Farther north from us. So when does all their stuff bloom? Later than us, right? So No Mow May here doesn't make any sense, okay? So April, if you don't want to mow your lawn to help feed pollinators, which are already coming out on warm days, do it in April, okay? And better yet, replace your grass with native plants that are going to bloom early or native trees and shrubs, because those are going to do a lot more for our diversity in our neighborhood than letting your weeds go. Okay, and your neighbors won't be pissed at you for letting your weeds go. I mean, it's important to consider. Okay, so I've seen a butterfly, which is great already. I've seen a moth. Okay, bees and flies are all over the place. I have not seen hummingbirds or chimney swifts yet. Those are going to return from the south in the next month or so. And that's all I got. All the info for all the events that are coming up this month are in the calendar. So if you want to come out, many opportunities in the neighborhood for you to get out and enjoy your neighborhood. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Ruth.
That yellow flower
Yes.
that we are supposed to hate,
Yes.
how do we get rid of it effectively?
So there's, Kelly asked me this earlier today. There's two ways to do it. You can dig it out, but if you dig it out, you have to do twice as wide as the plant, and you have to go super deep, and then you want to give it to Rumpke. You don't want to put it in your compost. You don't want to put it as yard waste. Because all the plant, how it spreads, is it's got all these little root nodule, little corn things, and if one of those breaks off and falls anywhere, it's going to become another plant. If you don't remove all of it, it's going to grow back the next year. So that's one method. The other method is you can get a lawn service or use broadcast herbicide for a couple years, and that'll take care of it. But it takes years to get it. Every year you'll kick it back a little bit over and over and over.
What's it called?
Lesser Celandine.
Oh.
And that's the one if you go to French Park right now, Kennedy Heights Park. If you go to any park in Cincinnati, it's all over the forest. And what it does, why it's so bad, is it chokes out all of the native wildflowers that want to pop up and bloom right now. So it prevents those guys from coming up. Those are only really two methods.
Okay, thank you.
They're not great. So, does anybody else? No? Oh wait, I do have one more, sorry. So I'm gonna have a Pocket Park event soon in April at some point. If you ask me to tell you when I'm gonna have them, I will contact you directly. Otherwise it'll be an email. I haven't set the date yet. We will be mostly weeding and getting ready to plant. I have a couple hundred plants in my backyard that are all nicely sprouting up already. That we're gonna plant a bunch of those into the Pocket Park in maybe May. We'll wait. But we want to get weeded and start. So that's it.
Thank you, Eric. It's always fun to learn something new about the nature in our community. Rich Day.
Hello, I'm Barb Stein with Bridge Day. Not a whole lot of new stuff to report other than we are hitting the ground running We've already got about $2,000 in sponsorships going. That's all.
Quick and easy.
Thanks, Barb.
Communications Committee already let me know that they don't have anything to share currently. I know that they may have some updates soon. Yes.
I did have an update for safety. He said their meeting is 4/7 at 6:30 at Goodfellas. So please attend that so he's not sitting there by himself. That would be kind of sad.
Yeah.
Oh, and he buys the first round. So win. Okay, that's fine.
Awesome. We do have another new committee. So we have a youth committee about the kickoff. We have a new lead for beautification. We also have a new committee called Resources, which is currently one person, Mr. Aaron Dean. Would you like to stand up at least wave to everybody?
Hi, I'm Aaron. If you would like to help with resources and grant writing and stuff like that.
Don't you need to put it in the?
I'll repeat it. Yeah.
But then they
So-
can't see it.
Oh, yeah.
You can just come look at the camera. So Aaron is helping organize all the different funding opportunities that we are working towards with the city, trying to help organize the different committees. And so we have in one place, we know what we're going for, but he's also helping us find or get the details on new funding opportunities, different grants, whether not just from the city, but some are from the state or the county or even from private organizations. And so he's helping keep us organized in that way. If you would like to help us find resources for our community, we would love for you to help Aaron in that committee. So our next one after that, we have Community Happens Here with Miss Ruth Ann Wolf.
Hey,
You're-
we have resources, black and tough. Okay, here's our brochure for the neighborhood egg hunt. This is a really fun thing that happens now, our 4th annual. And we get over 200, between 200 and 300 people at it. And we really could use your support either economically or physically. I've posted a couple times and I will continue to post that we need adult volunteers. Our usual 4th graders are not volunteers for this event because they want to go get the eggs and you cannot ask them to work a coffee stand for 2 hours. It's just not fair. So I've moved to, yes. So I do need adults and it costs a lot of money to put that much candy in 3,000 eggs. And so I would appreciate the support. As you know, we have a thing called conversation starters. We have a number of them in this room. Barb is one of our very first who supports us monthly, starting at $10 a month. And we do have a time in the future, not too far from now, when we need to be able to support Community Happens Here with voluntary donations. There really isn't any more in the big pot to put in there from me. And Community Happens Here is a very novel and new thing. It is not an arts organization. It's not a food pantry. It is something that we collectively invented to create, hopefully, to obviate those needs of food pantries and stuff by having us know each other, know our neighbors, talk to each other. And I'll give you the example of how it works in real life, which is really fun. 4 years ago, I brought Community Happens Here to some event that was at the rec center, and there was snow cones and things, and I talked to a young man who was a nativity student, and we were talking about what happens at Community Happens Here, and he said, oh, I'm gonna come there one of these days and volunteer. Well, he never actually came, but then he went to Mount Notre Dame for high school, and Melania, another young woman at that school, was doing her capstone project at Community Happens Here. I'll point out to you that there has to be a there to do a capstone project, right? She came to us, she had ideas, we worked with her, and we supported her in her capstone project. 2 days ago, he called me from Ohio University, where he is a journalism student. He needed someone to interview. What we are is the soft place to land, the first place to climb up the ladder for our people in our community, for our young people. But that took 5 years to come to fruition. And so I ask you to support, why is it important for 200 little kids to run after some eggs? It's because they are in our neighborhood, and each step along the way, they become more and more integrated with us. And we know that there are important health benefits, important mental health benefits to a connected community. Still, loneliness is a big problem in our world and in our community. So I urge you to come help, or to throw some money at communityhappenshere.org and enjoy us for some coffee every Saturday from 11 to 1. And then all summer, we will have it twice a week. And that's what we do, is try to get people connected. Neighborhood egg hunt. Oh my God. Tony Wells, it was his idea, and now I keep doing it because I love the community. Yay!
Thank you.
We love you.
Awesome. Next, we have school liaisons. I did see that Quinn is here. Do you have anything to share? We're gonna come back to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ready.
You were staying on task. That's great.
My name is Gwen Roth. I am on the PRM LSDMC, which is the local school
A little closer, please. Sorry.
the local school decision-making committee. Our job is really to approve budgets, principals, different types of things like that. Just some updates from the school in general. They're currently working on teacher contracts throughout entire CPS. The teachers are going to be at that school next year or move to other schools. Student placement is happening in mid-April, and students will have a introductory day to their next grade. I believe it's April 15th, but say mid-April in the minutes. There's also a spring flower sale. Sale ends Thursday, April 7th. You pick up on April 26th, and about half of the sales of plants go to PRM. So that helps to support PRM. So go to prmrocks.org and order some plants. Pick them up on April 26th. And May 22nd is the last day of school. So just be aware of that. And finally, Title I funding. If any of you know anything about this, the federal government gives money to schools based on socioeconomic factors. We used to call it free and reduced lunch, all those types of things. PRM is classified as a Title I school. They get a lot, as St. Public Schools are, obviously, but we get a lot of money from the federal government that the federal government is trying to push off to state governments. Our state government has traditionally not been supportive of public schooling. So do everything you can to call your local people as well. I know we've been trying to call federal people and trying to work on that. Make sure you're calling your local representatives as well and telling them to support public education. So, any questions?
When does the plant sale end, on Monday the 7th or a different date on the Thursday?
I will get back to you on that. I just looked that up on my phone. I put Thursday the 7th in my notes.
But it's April, not May.
It is April, yes. So the sale is April.
Oh, you like order ahead of time?
Yes, you have to order ahead of time. I will double check that date. Because April the 7th is a Monday. So let me double check that, but I know the pickup is actually April 26th. It's a Saturday.
You can email it to me, we can get it out.
Yeah, we'll make
Okay.
sure we get the proper dates in the notes. Before we send out to the public. Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. So on gateways, which she mentioned, I want to comment on two things before we open it up for public comment. Anytime we do a public comment, if you don't recall, time of 2 minutes, we go from there. But on gateways, we're currently thinking about rethinking gateways. I've been involved with Pleasant Ridge Community Council since I moved here almost 3 years ago. Gateways have always existed. They're the 4 quadrants of Pleasant Ridge. But since I've been here in 3 years, there hasn't been much activity. Some of them still have active Facebook groups, but there hasn't been actual activity for the most part, save Barb, who's active in all things. So we will readdress that. We're not saying yet that we're going to do away with those or anything, but we don't have comment at this time. We're going to meet with the current leaders and go from there. And then on the youth committee, if you have a teen in your life who would be interested, that is open. It is not just the select few people who met with me that first time. We can get you in contact. You're a teenager. If you are a teenager, if you have a teenager in your life, we can get them in contact with that group that is, again, youth-driven, youth-led, and then a lot of liaison with us adults. Sound good? Great. So now I'll open up to public comment. If anybody would like to share, we will ask you to come to the mic so that everyone who is watching the stream can hear, as well as the people in the back of the room. You're back.
Yeah. The PRM Rocks website says Thursday, April 7th. So I will get with Missy and I will double check that date and I will let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll send it out in the weekly newsletter.
Thank you.
Mr. President, before we do the public comment, I wanted to make a motion regarding the budget, and you spoke about the budget before.
Okay, what motion would you like to make?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that the Pleasant Ridge Community Council moves that the Cincinnati City Council to prioritize funding for police, fire, city services, such as waste collection and snow removal, roads, and the water and sewer departments. Does anyone want to second my motion? Yes, motion dies.
No second, so yes, the motion dies.
Okay.
Would anybody else like to make a public comment of any sort?
Yes.
Come right up, Mr. Carl. You said Carl Beckers, right? Beckman, sorry about that.
Hi, everybody. Carl Beckman here. I'd like to give you an update on the 311 system. 311 is being advertised. We have a flyer back there, but it only works inside the city's limits. If you live in Pleasant Ridge and you work in Kenwood and you're trying to use Kenwood, the phone at work or your cell phone up there, it won't work. So what you want to do is you want to call 513-591-6000. That's the old city services number. The other number that works is 513-765-1212. A 311 class has recently been held during the March here, and I should have mentioned that before March. Hopefully there will be another class next year or sooner. I encourage you folks to sign up for it. It requires a time commitment of 2 hours every Wednesday for 4 weeks. The city has preferences. They would prefer someone on a city council or someone who is a power user of the system to be enrolled in the class, but I believe that any one of you folks would benefit from the class. I was the only person representing Pleasant Ridge in the 2014 class, and I learned quite a bit. You learn things such as 2 weeks before Taste of Cincinnati downtown, the health department baits the sewers. They put poison down in the sewers so that the rats eat the poison and they don't come up and eat the food. Now, many thanks to Andrew, our former president, for having TIBA clean up the area around Western Highland. I've been reporting the illegal dumping and litter to 311 for years, and if we got lucky, we could get some inmates to come out and clean up the area. During the snowstorm, I heard reports that there were 20,000 requests for slippery streets. Now, quick pothole update. Potholes are being filled with cold patch. Good news. Contractors are repairing sections of roadway. That's good news too. However, the bad news is the potholes that are being filled with just cold patch are opening up, so keep reporting those. As far as, and some people down on my street have been using 311 to report tree problems that they're having with neighbors. I tried to do some research about that to see if 311 has been beneficial. I couldn't find out if 311 was beneficial. 311 does not like to see dead trees around the neighborhood. As far as driving goes, drive defensively, keep plenty of insurance on your vehicles. You can purchase a no-fault medical plan, pray, and don't be the guy that ends up in an accident. Now, really quickly, I'll end it up. Police officers are citing drivers involved in a crash. Some of the tickets make me scratch my head as to whether or not they're valid. If you are cited, consult with your insurance company or a lawyer or take it to court. We like to think that the police officers are highly trained, but they do make mistakes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. You did actually last month encourage people to join the class, even though I think it started that same week. So thank you for that, Carl, the class on 311. Do we have anybody else who would like to make public comment while we still have time?
Questions? You want me to do it?
Yeah, we can take questions. If you have questions written down, let's go for it.
I was just thinking about how we heard about, like, we're new to Pleasant Ridge as of like last fall, and I can't remember how we heard about town council at all. And you're speaking to trying to get more people engaged. Other than like social media, what have you, like, you do anything to promote the meetings and to get involved?
Question is regarding how we promote Pleasant Ridge Community Council meetings, as it's generally word of mouth. I'm guessing that's how you understood it. We do have actually a pretty broad reach in terms of our email. There's a lot of people that are involved in receiving emails that don't come to the meeting, so they receive minutes. Some people go back and watch YouTube. But I would agree. I know that in the past, Gateway leaders have gone around and actually door to door and handed information to people, which did not increase the attendance of meetings in the past. So some of that is time and money driven, but so it is social media, our email possibly. We do have some signs that are in my basement that were in former President Bill Frost's basement at one point that actually say when the meetings are, but there's a typo on them. So we have to actually have those banners adjusted, which costs money. And then we have to pay somebody to go up and put them on a pole after getting approval from Duke or the city to do so. So that's kind of an issue. From there, it would be us having to find a way to fund, whether it's banners or something else. But if you are concerned about what's happening positively or negatively in Pleasant Ridge and you would like your neighbors to be involved, invite them. Why not? I know this is very official and meetings like this are always fun for everybody, but this is how you learn things, and this is also how you can really get a voice in the community where we're going. And you can always email us.
Just to add, and I think that was an awesome question. We went to the Invest in Neighborhood Summit this past weekend, and we learned from a few other community councils on the things that they do in their neighborhoods to drive engagement. They do some super fun things, and so we got really inspired by a few other neighborhoods that are doing monthly cadences of getting people together, whether it's a barbecue, a bar crawl. Like, there's some really cool ideas. We wanted to take a step back to say, hey, what are our overall priorities? How do we rank order them? And then instead of just jumping into action, if you're interested in something like that, we would love to help as we think of ideas that would capture and be broad to get the full neighborhood involved. But those are some of the things that we're thinking of how to get folks connected to each other, even beyond these walls, because this is, a very formal meeting. The goal is that people feel connected to their neighbors. So, great question.
Well answered, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Amy?
Is it not possible for the CRC to just put something on the sign out front of our meetings?
That's the question for those who are watching online, is whether or not we could have a CRC put something on there. What is that called? Marquee. That's right. When I almost said matinee, and I knew that wasn't the word. The marquee out front, and yeah, we could ask. Yeah, it might be that one of us needs to show up and do it for them.
And there's a problem with having enough letters. It's a very specific size, and they don't have all the letters they need, and it's very difficult to get. Or we had to, one time, literally, somebody made letters so every time there was a thing about that. So ask about, before you ask them to do it, ask them whether they have capacity to do it. They may not have enough letters. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of Cs. Yeah, we will follow up, on that as a possibility. Do we have any other questions or public comment? Go for it.
How can anybody, just like in attendance today, without being in any of the three acronyms, engage with the new business, the new plan for the business corridor or
The master plan.
yeah.
Yeah, so with, as Josh expressed, the way that works is once we receive the funding, we're gonna be using a third-party company. It's not the city doing this, it's going to be Yard & Co., who we've already contacted and who we're working with, got a quote from. Yard & Co. actually has a full process they do where they will be doing community engagement. So they'll either post up on the street, they'll announce events and invite people to it. They may even they might do door to door, they might do mailers. There's a lot of different things that they do to receive a plethora of information from a wide base of our residents. So if you want input on that, it'll be through contact with Yard once that work starts, which will be after May.
Okay.
Sometime.
And to clarify, they're the company engaged to get that feedback. Right?
Yeah,
To start.
yes, Yard & Co. is a company, that's the first step for them, but they'll actually do full mock-ups and recommendations for our entire business district.
They do urban planning primarily, but you're welcome to come up and I can get your info if you're excited about that type of work. So, and then we are from a Pleasant Ridge Development Corporation standpoint, so I'm now putting on that hat. We are also working to have better communication and let people know about our quarterly meetings because they are open door. You can come. Brad, you were at our last meeting, which was great. So Brad came and shared perspective, and we are a working volunteer board over there. And usually we meet in Wise Guys above Goodfellas. So happy to meet you afterwards and share info on that front.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Yeah.
Barb Dietrichson. Second from Carl. Second, and meeting is adjourned. And we're out before 8:30.
Your frisbee, everybody. Some way, somehow.
Nice work.
Oh, this thing's about to die. That was good. This is my